today we're going to do a very important topic which is called functions. And I know functions also is a nightmare for all grade 11s and 12s in the country. A very major component of your math paper 1 is functions, and the topic on functions will cover at least 30 to 40 marks in the exam. Now, like all topics, we need a checklist. So how do you, a grade 11 or 12 learner, know that you know your functions? What are the topics that you need to know in order to know that, yes, I know functions? Let's start. This is your checklist. Number 1, you need to know which type of function. Remember, the word functions refers to graphs. So, what type of graphs do you need to know? You need to know the straight line graph. You need to know the parabola. You need to know the hyperbola. You need to know the hyperbola plus the shift in asymptotes. We'll explain all these topics to you as we go along. Remember, the purpose of the show is to make you understand processes and procedures. If you do not know how to follow certain processes and procedures in mathematics, you'll never be able to apply them in complex situations. So this is what we're going to be going through. So, straight line, parabola, hyperbola and shift. The next function, which I think you're already saying in your head because you already know it as a grade 11 or 12 learner, you already know what the next graph is going to be. The exponential graph and the shift. And obviously for grade 12s, I'm going to put now, this is your log graph. Okay, grade 11s, that's where you'll stop. Grade 12s, you need to know all these graphs. Now what do you need to know in these graphs? Besides knowing the names of these graphs, you need to know what equations make up these graphs, right? So the straight line we know is y is equal to mx plus c, or ax plus q, or bx plus d. Makes no difference. As long as it's in this form, mx plus c, we know that that is a straight line graph. The parabola, there are two types. The one being a trinomial expression, x squared, ax squared, let's just put it here, ax squared plus bx plus c or plus px plus q. That's a trinomial expression. Whenever you see squared, that's a parabola. When the power is 1, that's a straight line. Or a into x minus p all squared plus q. We all know that is the turning point formula. The turning point formula for the parabola, grade 11s and 12s, you ought to know this by now. The hyperbola, given by y equals a over x. That's your standard hyperbola. The hyperbola with a shift, y equals a over x minus p plus q. As we go through each of these topics, showing you how to sketch, how to determine all the equations, I will then also explain to you what each of these symbols mean in this formula. Remember, these formulas or formulae need to be memorized. You need to know them. So the minute somebody tells you y is equal to mx plus c, you know it's a straight line. The minute somebody gives you a trinomial or difference of two squares, you know that's a parabola. Somebody gives you an equation y equals 6 over x. The minute x is in the denominator, you know that's a hyperbola. Exponential. Exponential. Y is equal to a to the power x. With a shift in asymptotes, a to the power x minus p plus q. And the log graph for grade 12s is x is equal to a to the y. And if you need to put it into log form, you'll say y is equal to log ax. Now, please ensure this is your checklist. What do we need to know? Besides knowing the formulae, we need to know how to sketch. We need to know how to determine the equations of them. We need to know for each of the graphs how to shift them up, down, left, right. What else do we need to know? You know, we need to give the domain of each graph. We need to give the range for each graph. And as a grade 12 learner, you need to know how to give the inverse function. How to give the inverse function of each of these graphs. Okay, so if you've got your pen and paper, please make a note. This is your checklist. We're going to be going through, in this show, we're going to be focusing only on functions. How to draw these graphs, the processes, how to sketch, how to determine the equations. We're going to do a complex problem where we're going to combine these functions onto one graph, and then we are going to interpret it, because not only is understanding the processes important, but graph interpretation. And this is, like we said, at least 30 to 40 marks in math paper 1. Very crucial, very important component. So very easy to score 100% in mathematics. Number 1 was our quadratic equations. We know In our algebra, we need to score full marks. Our normal equations score full marks. Exponents, exponential equations score full marks. Simultaneous equations, like we've done in the previous episodes, score full marks. Inequalities, I showed you the shortcut, score full marks.